Monica Grant placed the termination papers in front of Rachel in the middle of the North Bridge lobby, while Emma stood beside her mother, holding her small backpack tightly. "Your daughter is not an emergency. She is a security violation," Monica said. Then she disabled Rachel's employee badge and forced mother and daughter to leave the building in the pouring rain. But just as they started walking toward the doors, Daniel Brooks, the company's chief executive officer, stumbled out of the elevator. He grabbed his throat and collapsed onto the floor. Emma saw his bright red face, his lips beginning to turn blue, and the medical alert bracelet around his wrist. "Mom, he is having an anaphylactic reaction." 70 minutes earlier, Emma's school had announced an early closure because heavy rain had caused a power outage. The babysitter called Rachel and explained that she had just been involved in a minor car accident and could not come. Rachel called her neighbors, co-workers, and Emma's father one after another. No one could help. If she missed another shift, she might lose the money she needed to replace her daughter's epinephrine injector. At 4:12 that afternoon, Rachel sent an email to Monica and the Human Resources inbox. She explained the situation and promised that Emma would remain quietly inside the employee break room without entering any restricted areas. A few minutes later, Monica replied, "Report to work alone or be marked absent." The message did not mention the company's emergency childcare policy. Rachel had no choice but to bring Emma to Northbridge. She packed books, headphones, peanut-free food, and the red allergy medication kit. Before beginning her shift, she took her daughter into the employee break room. "Stay here and finish your homework. Do not go anywhere until I come back." Emma nodded. On the way to her assigned area, Rachel saw an older co-worker cleaning a pool of rainwater near a side entrance. Although her own shift had already started, Rachel brought another mop, placed a warning sign on the floor, and helped clean the area so no one would slip. Inside the break room, Emma was searching for a charging outlet when she found a blue card beneath a cabinet. It showed an adult holding a child's hand and carried the words, "Safe Harbor, Family Room Access." When Rachel returned to check on her, Emma held up the card. "Mom, is this for a room where children can stay?" Rachel had never heard of the program. She was about to examine the card when Monica appeared and snatched it from Emma's hand. This program was canceled. She looked at the backpack and food container on the table. "You brought a child into the company without permission?" "I sent an email asking for help. Emma will not leave the break room. Please let me finish my shift. I have no emergency savings left." Monica did not check the email or contact Human Resources. There is no policy for people who cannot manage their personal lives. She ordered Rachel to leave her shift immediately and entered an emergency termination request into the system. The request triggered an alert for Jasmine Patel, the new director of Human Resources. Jasmine called Monica. "Every termination must be approved by Human Resources. Wait while I review the records." Monica could have stopped. Instead, she entered the code Security Breach 7B, an outdated violation category, and disabled Rachel's badge before Jasmine could reach the lobby. The story returned to the moment Daniel lay motionless on the lobby floor. The managers standing around him panicked. One person called security. Another kept asking whether Daniel could hear them. But no one knew where his medication was. Emma pointed toward his medical alert bracelet. "Call 911. Ask whether that leather bag belongs to him." Rachel knelt beside Daniel, called emergency services, and opened the bag under the dispatcher's instructions. Inside was an epinephrine injector. "It is like my medicine," Emma said. The 911 dispatcher confirmed that the injection had to be given immediately. Emma took the injector, removed the safety cap, and pressed it against the outside of Daniel's thigh through his pants, following the exact procedure Rachel had practiced with her many times. Rachel held the phone and repeated every instruction. After administering the medication, Emma stepped back. Both of her hands were shaking, but she clearly reported the time of the injection and every symptom she had observed. Daniel began breathing again just before Dr. Aaron Lee and the company medical team rushed into the lobby. Aaron checked Daniel's airway and heartbeat, then asked when the injection had been given. Emma answered correctly before suddenly bursting into tears. Rachel pulled her daughter into her arms. "Being brave does not mean you are not allowed to feel scared." Aaron looked at the girl. If you had waited another 2 or 3 minutes, he might not have survived. Monica was still holding Rachel's termination papers, but before she could speak, the lobby doors opened. Jasmine walked inside, saw Daniel receiving emergency treatment, and examined the document in Monica's hand. "Rachel, you have not been fired. This decision was never approved by Human Resources." Every person in the lobby turned toward Monica. So what was she trying to hide? Daniel was taken to the Northbridge medical room to be stabilized while they waited for an ambulance to transfer him to the hospital. Dr. Aaron Lee checked his vital signs again and confirmed that Emma had correctly identified anaphylactic shock and used the epinephrine injector properly under direct instructions from the 911 dispatcher. Only after the danger had passed did Emma begin to cry. She stared at her hands as though she had just understood what might have happened if she had waited any longer. Rachel held her daughter. "Being brave does not mean you are not afraid. You followed the instructions exactly, and that was enough." Monica still tried to regain control of the situation. The fact that the girl saved Mr. Brooks does not erase the fact that Rachel brought an unauthorized person into the company. Daniel was still struggling to breathe, but he had heard everything. "Why did you have to bring your daughter to work?" Rachel did not beg or use Emma's actions as leverage. Her school closed early because of a power outage. The babysitter was involved in an accident, and no one else could help. I sent an email asking for assistance and promised Emma would remain in the break room. If I missed the shift, I risked losing the money I needed to replace her epinephrine injector. Monica immediately replied, "Northbridge does not provide emergency childcare for cleaning staff." Daniel looked at her. "When did Safe Harbor emergency care disappear?" Monica froze. Daniel explained that he had personally approved the program after his wife, Caroline, died. Safe Harbor allowed employees to use the family room or backup childcare services during as many as 3 emergencies each year. The policy applied to frontline employees in every department, regardless of position. Jasmine opened the human resources system. "Rachel has worked here long enough to qualify, and she has never used the program. She was eligible." Rachel looked at the blue card in Monica's hand. "I was never told about it." 2 evening shift employees standing nearby also shook their heads. They only knew that a room marked with a family symbol was always locked. Monica changed her explanation and raised security concerns. Cleaning employees work near restricted areas. Children could wander away, touch equipment, or expose confidential information. Jasmine asked security to open the camera recordings. The footage showed Emma sitting in the break room, wearing headphones, completing her homework, and eating the food her mother had prepared. She never entered a restricted area. Emma only ran into the lobby after Monica forced Rachel to leave her shift. The security accusation began to collapse. System records confirmed that Rachel had sent her email at 4:12 in the afternoon to both Monica and the Human Resources inbox. However, a rule created through Monica's administrator account automatically redirected messages containing the phrase emergency childcare into a folder that human resources employees never reviewed. Jasmine continued examining the disciplinary record. The time listed in Rachel's report had been altered, making it appear that Emma arrived before Rachel requested assistance. "The original data shows the opposite," Jasmine said. "Rachel asked for permission before bringing her daughter here." Monica tried to keep her voice calm. "It may have been a technical error. We should handle this privately to protect Mr. Brooks and the company's reputation." Daniel became angry. "You terminated an employee without following procedure and forced her and a child outside into the rain. I want you suspended immediately." But Jasmine refused to let the chief executive officer's anger replace due process. "We need to preserve the data, determine the full scope, and begin an independent investigation. If we act only on emotion now, we will repeat the same mistake that was just made against Rachel." Rachel agreed. "I do not want Monica judged because my daughter saved you. I want everyone to examine the real records." Daniel offered Rachel and Emma a financial reward, but Rachel refused. "My daughter helped you because it was the right thing to do. I do not want a special favor instead of the rights I was already supposed to have. I only want the company to evaluate me using the truth." Jasmine and the security team searched the facility's department storage area. Inside a locked cabinet controlled by Monica, they found every safe harbor card, including family room access cards and contact information for the backup childcare service. The system log showed that not one card had been used in 14 months. The review expanded. 43 emergency childcare requests had been rejected or redirected away from the human resources system through Monica's account. 11 employees were later forced out, resigned, or lost benefits because of absences related to their children. Another spreadsheet showed that Monica's bonus increased when employee absences and overtime costs remained low. The altered records had helped her achieve the best performance rating in the department for 2 consecutive years. Jasmine displayed the list on the screen. This is no longer one bad decision. This was a system designed to make sure that people who needed help could never reach it. Among the 11 employees who had lost their jobs, 3 agreed to appear before the board the following morning. What would they reveal about Monica? The following morning, the emergency conference room was filled with board members, independent auditors, Jasmine, Dr. Aaron Lee, Rachel, and representatives of the affected employees. Emma was not required to attend. She sat in the room next door with a child support specialist, a box of colored pencils in front of her, and a storybook she had not finished reading. Aaron opened Daniel's medical file. Mr. Brooks suffered anaphylactic shock. The epinephrine injection was given at the right time and saved his life. The 911 recording was played. Emma's voice trembled, but she spoke clearly as she identified the symptoms, asked an adult to find the injector, followed the dispatcher's instructions, reported the exact time of the injection, and stepped back so the medical team could reach Daniel. Daniel looked down at his hands. The child, who was treated as though she had no right to be in the building, followed emergency procedure better than the managers who were responsible for it. But the truth about the person who saved his life was only the first layer. Jasmine connected her computer to the large screen. Rachel's email, sent at 4:12 in the afternoon, appeared first. Then came the hallway footage, the termination notice that Human Resources had never approved, and the expired Security Breach 7B code. The editing history proved that the time on Rachel's report had been changed after Monica announced her termination. Jasmine then placed a ring of keys from Monica's office on the table. Inside Ms. Grant's locked cabinet, we found every safe harbor card that was never distributed. This program was hidden for 14 months. A list of 43 redirected childcare requests appeared on the screen. 11 of those employees had resigned, been terminated, or lost health insurance. The numbers were displayed beside Monica's bonus reports, which rewarded low absence rates and reduced overtime costs. 3 former employees entered one at a time. One mother said Monica had warned that her record would be marked unreliable if she continued complaining. The other 2 confirmed that they had received similar threats. Monica tightened her hands together. Safe Harbor was understaffed and disrupted operations. I was only protecting the company from an unrealistic policy. Jasmine looked directly at her. You could have requested more funding or proposed changes to the policy. Instead, you hid it, falsified records, and punished the people who needed help. Daniel stood. His voice no longer carried the authority of a chief executive officer trying to protect his reputation. I signed a policy and assumed the work was finished. If employees could not actually use it, then this failure belongs to me as well. Another report showed that senior managers had received summary data, but no one investigated because the surface numbers still looked impressive. The silence had not begun with one person, even though Monica had turned it into a weapon. When Rachel was invited to speak, she did not ask for a bonus or a promotion. I want my record corrected, and I want no mother to be forced to choose between leaving her child somewhere unsafe and losing her job. The board suspended Monica during the meeting, revoked all of her access, and referred the records to an independent investigation. Rachel's termination was canceled. Her pay, insurance, and seniority were restored. The company was required to contact the affected employees, review whether they could be rehired, restore lost benefits, and provide independent legal counseling. After the investigation, Monica was terminated for falsifying records, retaliating against employees, and concealing company policy. The related bonuses were recovered. The consequences did not come because she had confronted a mother whose daughter saved the chief executive officer. They came because the evidence showed that she had used her authority to close the door to assistance for many families. Safe Harbor was rebuilt. Employees received a direct line to human resources, and no manager could deny a request alone. The family room could be opened with a valid employee card. Backup childcare was made available for night shifts. Termination decisions were audited regularly, and employees who filed complaints were protected from retaliation. Every manager was required to learn first aid, anaphylaxis response, and the company's responsibilities toward employees with children. Daniel attended the first training session, sat in an ordinary seat, and began carrying 2 epinephrine injectors at all times. Rachel was not promoted simply because Emma had saved his life. An independent panel reviewed her 5-year work record and found consistent performance, several reports that had prevented accidents, and no genuine violations. Northbridge paid for her to continue the workplace safety certification she had been unable to finish. But Rachel still had to study, pass every examination, and prove her ability like every other candidate. 6 months later, she completed the first course and became the night shift safety coordinator. Aaron introduced an allergy awareness program and medically approved emergency kits throughout the building. Emma received a commendation from Seattle Emergency Services, but Rachel refused every request to turn her daughter into the face of an advertising campaign. When Daniel asked what she wanted as a thank you, Emma said only, "I want my mom to stop being scared every time the school calls." That afternoon, Emma placed the blue safe harbor card on the reception desk. A night shift employee entered while holding her young son's hand. She kept apologizing as she approached. Rachel opened the door and said gently, "You do not need to apologize for being a mother." That night, Emma saved one person with an epinephrine injector. But the truth she accidentally uncovered saved many families from a choice no one should ever have to face: leaving a child behind or losing the income that keeps the family alive. What would you have done in Rachel's place? If no one was available to care for your child and you could lose your job, would you bring your child to work or accept missing the shift? Share your thoughts and continue following Stewart stories, stories of love, hope, and justice.